Get out. Those were the first words my father said after looking at the scars on my body. I had just come home after 10 years of military service. 10 years of missed holidays. 10 years of sacrifice. 10 years of sending thousands of dollars home because my family always claimed they were struggling. I thought they'd be proud of me. Instead, they treated me like a problem they wished would disappear. That night, I stood outside in the freezing cold with one duffel bag, nowhere to go, and a broken heart. I believed my life had fallen apart. But 3 weeks later, standing beside my grandfather's beehives, I discovered a secret so shocking that every lie my family had told for the last decade came crashing down. And when the truth finally surfaced, the people who threw me away were the ones begging for a second chance. For 10 years, I wore the uniform with pride. The deployments were long. The holidays were lonely. Some birthdays passed without a single celebration. But through every difficult day, one thought kept me going. I was helping my family build a better life. Every month, I sent most of my paycheck home. Dad always said money was tight. The roof needed repairs. Bills were piling up. My younger brother, Tyler, needed help with school expenses. So I sacrificed without hesitation. I drove old vehicles, skipped vacations, and saved very little for myself. Family came first. Then everything changed during my final deployment. A roadside accident left me seriously injured. After months of treatment and rehabilitation, the military informed me that my service career was over. The news hit hard, but I found comfort in one thing. I was finally going home. Christmas was only a week away when I arrived. I imagined laughter, warm hugs, and a family dinner celebrating my return. Instead, the moment I stepped through the front door, something felt wrong. The smiles seemed forced. The conversations stopped whenever I entered a room. Even Tyler barely looked up from his phone. I tried convincing myself I was imagining things. Then Christmas dinner arrived. Halfway through the meal, Dad suddenly slammed his fork onto the table. The room went silent. His eyes locked onto mine. "You've been home for weeks," he said coldly. "And now you're injured. You can't serve anymore. You're just another expense." I stared at him, unable to speak. Then came the words that shattered everything. "You're a burden. Get out of my house." At that moment, my entire world collapsed. I don't remember much about the bus ride. I sat by the window with my duffel bag at my feet, staring into the darkness as snow drifted across empty fields. My father's words replayed in my head over and over. "You're a burden." After everything I'd done for them, that was all I was worth. The bus finally stopped near my grandfather's farm just after sunrise. The moment I stepped off, I saw him standing beside his old pickup truck. Grandpa was 81 years old, but somehow he still stood straighter than most men half his age. The second he saw me, he pulled me into a hug. No questions. No judgment. Just family. "You're home, kid," he said quietly. For the first time in days, I felt my chest loosen. The next few weeks were simple. While I continued recovering from my injuries, Grandpa kept me busy around the farm. Some days we repaired fences. Other days we cleaned equipment or prepared supplies for winter. But his real pride wasn't the farm. It was his bees. Thousands of them lived in neat wooden hives stretching across a sunny field behind the barn. Every morning Grandpa checked on them. "Bees tell you a lot about life," he often said. One afternoon, while we worked near the hives, he finally asked the question I'd been avoiding. "How much money did you send home over the years?" When I told him the amount, he nearly dropped his smoker. Then his expression changed. "That doesn't make any sense," he muttered. "What doesn't?" Grandpa looked toward the hives. Then back at me. "I think your family hasn't been telling you the truth." The next morning, Grandpa was already waiting at the kitchen table. Spread across the surface were notebooks, folders, and a laptop. "What is all this?" I asked. "Answers," he said. Over the following days, we began digging through old records. I pulled up years of bank statements from my military account. Every transfer I'd sent home was there month after month without fail. The total made my stomach turn. It was enough money to help a family comfortably for years. But the deeper we looked, the stranger things became. Dad had always claimed the money was paying bills. Yet utility records showed many of those bills had been overdue anyway. He'd said the roof needed repairs. It had never been replaced. He'd said Tyler needed help with school expenses. But according to social media posts, Tyler had spent years showing off expensive electronics, vacations, and a nearly new truck. The evidence kept piling up. Every answer created two new questions. One evening, I sat outside with Grandpa near the beehives as the sun disappeared behind the trees. I don't understand, I admitted. Why would they lie? Grandpa watched the bees returning to their hives. Because honesty requires work, he said. Lies are easier in the beginning. He pointed toward the hives. See those bees? Every one of them contributes. The hive survives because everyone does their part. The moment one starts taking without giving back, the whole system suffers. His words hit harder than he realized. For 10 years I'd been giving. Now I was beginning to see who had been taking. And before long we would have proof nobody could deny. A week later, Grandpa and I drove back to my parents' house. The same house I'd spent years helping support. The same house I had been thrown out of. As we pulled into the driveway, my stomach tightened. Dad opened the door first. His expression hardened the moment he saw me. What do you want? He asked. Before I could answer, Grandpa stepped forward. The truth. We walked inside. Mom looked nervous. Tyler suddenly found the floor very interesting. Nobody wanted to make eye contact. Grandpa placed a thick folder on the dining room table. Then he calmly opened it. For nearly an hour he presented the records. The bank transfers. The spending history. The purchases. The vacations. Every excuse my family had given me over the years fell apart one piece at a time. Dad's confidence disappeared first. Then Mom's. Finally, Tyler broke. Okay, he shouted. I used some of the money. Some? Grandpa asked. Tyler lowered his head. It was most of it. The room went silent. Dad rubbed his face. We thought you'd keep sending money, he admitted quietly. You were doing well. We didn't think it mattered. I stared at him in disbelief. 10 years. 10 years of sacrifice reduced to a convenient source of income. No apology could erase that. No explanation could justify it. Finally I stood. For a moment, everyone waited for me to yell. To argue. To demand something back. Instead I simply picked up the folder. No, I said. You don't get any more from me. Then I walked out beside Grandpa. And for the first time in years I felt free. After that day I stopped looking backward. Instead I focused on rebuilding. I stayed with Grandpa at the farm and began helping him full-time. What started as a way to keep busy soon became something much bigger. Every morning we worked side by side among the hives. The bees fascinated me. No excuses. No selfishness. Every bee contributed to something greater than itself. Slowly, Grandpa taught me everything he knew about beekeeping, honey production, and running a small business. Within a year we launched our own honey brand. To my surprise, it grew quickly. Local stores began carrying our products. Farmers' markets led to larger orders. Before long, the business was earning more than I ever expected. But the money wasn't the most valuable thing I gained. It was purpose. It was confidence. It was the feeling that my life still mattered. Months later, my parents reached out. They apologized and asked to reconnect. I chose forgiveness not because they had earned it, but because carrying anger was too heavy. So I set clear boundaries. Some lessons should never be forgotten. One evening, Grandpa and I sat beside the hives as thousands of bees returned home with the setting sun. You know, he said, smiling, sometimes what feels like the end is really a new beginning. For the first time in years, I knew he was right. Sometimes the deepest wounds don't come from strangers. They come from the people we trust most. But as this story proves, betrayal doesn't have to be the end of your journey. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Tell us in the comments, what would you have done in this situation?